The Dakar Rally is the toughest off-road race in the world. Even with a broken wrist, I wasn't going to miss it. My lowest point of the whole time was literally about 10 minutes before getting on the airplane to fly over to the event, leaving the Australian shores, just thinking to myself, like, this is just a complete waste of time. Why am I doing this? My wrist was in a bad way. Like, I literally couldn't even really hold a coffee cup. You're basically riding at 50% because your wrist, which is what turns the throttle on the right-hand side, is broken. When you've got to cover 12,000 kilometres, be on a motorcycle for 8 to 12 hours a day, I knew there was a big challenge ahead of me. If we have an injury coming into that race, if we miss that race altogether, it's financially hurts my pocket. It's hard on sponsors as well. If you're not there at the event, sponsors want to know why, and I knew the result was going to be bad anyway, but we had the scans and the x-rays. He put it on the wall and it was just in complete shock. He goes, "Is it worth it?" I wasn't too stressed if it cut 2 or 3 years off, but yeah, if it was riding that one and then getting the news that I'd never ride a bike again because I've completely destroyed my wrist, then I probably would have held my head down pretty low and been pretty disappointed. Being on the start line, I think your body, you pretty much just go numb. The spectators and the hype of the race all starting to get ready to take off. I think it blocks a lot of that pain out, and then the day begins and the torture begins then after that. The mind games, I think they start playing on pretty much everyone, from just the long physical, mental, challenging days, no matter what really. On course, we can play a little bit with some navigation. I've played a little bit on some lines, but I've heard of some other guys that would do circles and loops and go around a heap of different directions, because once the guys start behind you and start catching you, they'll have a bit of a line showing, but once they get there and there's just lines going everywhere, it kind of confuses them a little bit. It just physically got harder and mentally got harder. It was the wrist was starting to get worse. I knew it was never going to improve. Honestly, it felt like somebody was just driving a hot knife through my wrist. I ended up getting it's basically this rubber band that holds the battery in the motorcycle, and I was wrapping that around my throttle and between my handle grip and my hand guard. So there's a small little gap in between both, and I would wedge it in between there and basically make my throttle stick and hold itself open. I probably said to myself 20 times that that's enough. My strength was gone, I could barely hang on, but when the stages started, all that went out the window and we just concentrated on what we needed to get done. Some days there, it was just like I would say, yeah, we're on again. I know I've got pain, and then there was other days it was just like, let's just park here and let someone come pick me up in a truck and take me back. But my teammate Sam Sunderland at night, basically I'd told him pretty much around 7 or 8 times that I'm finished and I'm done, and Sam, he talked me back into it, and he's like, man, he's only got a few more days to go. He's like, keep charging, and he said, you're still in the race, and I'm like, man, I've got a broken wrist. There's no way in the world I'm going to win this thing. It's already a guarantee that I'm back on an operating table, so we'll just finish the thing off. The race and my wrist, I definitely surprised myself. My team and Sam were pretty much saying to me, like, you have an extremely good chance to win this thing, and how can you stop now? Like, you have to finish this thing and go home. My biggest competitor, Pablo Quintanilla, was in second, 1 minute behind me. He was basically trying to play those mind games and make it look like a motocross race where we're just going to be wide open and full gas for the day. At that time, I was like, well, I think my wind's gone out the window. The alarm sounded on the motorcycle, which either means there's a fallen rider or a danger ahead. And yeah, it was Pablo. He dropped off a huge big dune, broke his ankle. Then I pretty much realised I was going to win Dakar Rally. We crossed the finish line and we actually ended up winning the last stage on time. I didn't know what to think. It was just basically a blur. Your mind is capable of many great things if you just basically try and talk yourself out of that pain and that torture in those times that you really need to perform and do well. Not too many people have been able to win with an injury like that, so it was one that will go down in the history books.